Liberalism is the most intolerant, toxic, manipulative, extremist thing that's out there. But they're gonna make everything else look like what I just said. And
Yeah.
imagine how dangerous that is. One of the tricks of Shaitan is to convince the world that he doesn't exist, bro.
In many ways, could be argued to be the reason why they banned you, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm against this whole idea of liberalism and tolerance as a whole because, one, it's hypocritical because these people are not liberal and tolerant. The people who are talking about liberalism and tolerance, they want us all to look different but think the same. If you think differently, then you're instantly a bad guy, right? They love the idea of someone looking different so they can pretend they're diverse and tolerant, but they want you to say the same things and believe the same things. As soon as you step outside of their pre-approved script, instantly they're no longer tolerant and they're no longer interested in diversity of thought. So the first thing, it's very hypocritical. And secondly, I've learned in life that the easiest way to get people to accept bad things is to do it with a Trojan horse. You find some way to disguise it. Even the Senate does this. Even governments do this. They'll say, you know, the green bill, this is to save the environment. And then somewhere on page 84 will be this little code about giving them all a pay rise. And you don't want to look like the bad guy who says no to saving the environment, and they just sneak it in, right? So it's very difficult. If you vote against saving the environment, you're terrible. And the media talks about how you didn't want to save the environment, and you have to sit there and try and explain on page 84, the MPs are trying to get an extra 45% money, and you're already on a back foot. And this is how they do it. They do everything with Trojan horses, and it doesn't matter what you want to name. Even agendas that are pure of heart, simple things, they end up being weaponized and Trojan, like you just said, second wave feminism and liberalism, all this crazy stuff. But the number one most dangerous one is this idea of tolerance. To sit and talk about being tolerant sounds like such a good thing that it's very difficult for someone to sit and say, no, I am an intolerant person. Now you look bad. But when they say tolerance and push tolerance to the point where absolute degeneracy must be accepted,
That's the point, yeah.
then you're a better person to not be tolerant. You can't be tolerant of degeneracy. You can't be tolerant of your own children seeing things they shouldn't see. You can be tolerant of the destruction of society. If they're going to sit here and say that, no, tolerance is the best thing ever, and then Trojan horse it and destroy the way humans interact, then I don't think tolerance is a good thing.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They've hijacked the phrase, and they've used it in their own context. There's one particular political thinker, his name is Mumbai. He said something very interesting. He said that the West has not acted morally consistent. They've only acted strategically consistent. Yep. And so it's tolerance when it's within your own borders or within a certain subsect of people, but then it becomes whatever it becomes, you know, a colonizing mission or a civilizing mission when it comes to, you know, the Iraq War, for example.
Completely. If you look at all of Western foreign policy, I mean, they'll talk about we need democracy, we care about freedom. They come up with all this garbage. But the truth is they'll support any side they want to support, regardless of whether they're democratic, regardless of what team they're on. They don't, like, you absolutely not nailed it. It's just about strategy at the time. And they have no true morals or true moral fiber. They'll just sit there and go, what's the strategical best decision? And they'll get it done. And yeah, that's Western foreign policy. And I think it's the same across basically the entire Western world. But this idea, when I hear people talking about tolerance, it just, when I hear it, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, this is evil, this is bad, but you're intolerant. Because you don't like evil. And there has to be a point where you stand up as a man and society stands up and says, yes, I'm intolerant of certain things. If someone broke into my house and tried to just start making dinner, I'd be like, whoa, 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 who are you? Like, be tolerant. No, I will not be. Who the fuck is this guy? You know, like.
It depends on what food is cooking. Right?
Well, I mean, there has to be a line in the sand. And the reason they keep talking about tolerance, diversity, inclusion, tolerance is not because they care about different people of different races or different beliefs. Certainly not beliefs, because you're not allowed a different belief. That's the number one thing. But it's because they want you to just sit down and swallow the pill and allow yourself to be brainwashed and not stand up for anything. That's all they want.
Isn't it ironic that they use tolerance as a way to try and manipulate you?
Completely. That's exactly what they try and do. In fact, and you know, it's funny, I'm trying to think of an idea which is purported and accelerated by the mainstream media machine that isn't an attempt on manipulation. Like every single thing that they jump behind and they try so hard to get you to believe in is a manipulation attempt. I'm trying to think of one that isn't. Why else would they waste their screen time? Like, you know, they're sitting there. These people are smart enough to understand that the internet's coming and people are spending more time on independent medias and people are learning more information from each other, and they're slowly, I mean, I don't want to go into the subject. We can talk about the last few years. They still have a grip on the world because they proved it, right? But with the common cold. But still, they're sitting there going, okay, we have this mass media machine. the average person only watches 6 minutes of our propaganda a day. They can't waste those 6 minutes, my friend. Like, they need to go, what's our agendas? Let's get to the point. What do we need people to believe about X, Y, Z? They can't be sitting there telling us the truth. That's a total waste of time.
Absolutely.
Do whatever you want as long as you're not harming other people is so backwards, because you can harm yourself. They don't care. And this is the point I want to make before I continue with my original point. They don't care if you hurt yourself. They don't care if you harm yourself. In America, even if you do, public health care is not a thing. It's privatized. You need to either have a job that'll pay for it or pay for it yourself, or have some kind of insurance that costs a lot of money that you probably don't have, the average American doesn't have. They don't care if you hurt yourself. They don't care if you drink yourself to death. They don't care if you smoke yourself until you lose all your brain cells. They don't care about you. They don't care if you become 500 pounds obese and die at the age of 36 of a heart attack while trying to walk up the stairs.
No, bro, that's called body positivity, no?
No, that's called being obese and dying at the age of 36. But regardless, and I'm not even trying to be rude, I genuinely care about people. I want people to live long, fruitful lives. The government doesn't. And there's this kind of unspoken train of thought that people have, which is like, if it's illegal, it's bad. If it's legal, it's okay. That's only the case in Islam. If it's haram, it's because it's bad. If it's halal, it's because it's okay. If it's mubah, then it's a bit of a gray area. Yani, like, we have these rulings for a reason. The government has it for a different reason. Our societies have it for a different reason. So if you live in a society where the government and the ideology says don't hurt other people but hurt yourself, they've already failed their own ideology, because they're allowing you to hurt yourself and making it seem like what you're doing is not harmful to begin with. They fail at the crux. They fail at the conception of their own belief. It's a shame.
Thanks. And I just want to kind of slide this in, because it's a little different. I don't know if y'all like caught on to it, but Andrew Tate's really like mentally just like on point with things. Like he's very clear-minded, and I think at one point he said he was doing carnivore diet. I don't know if he's still doing carnivore, but like how sharp he was in his just like mental thought process and his responses, and the way that he could formulate the ideas and just bring it all together. Like, it only reminds me of when I was either doing carnivore, keto, animal-based, which is primarily meat and then fruit, honey, stuff like that, or in a fasted state. So, like, this man's doing something like that, and I just want to throw it out there, because I don't know if many people are going to catch on to that, but it's like, look at the difference, bro, when someone's just, like, mentally sharp like this.
Allahumma barak, Allahumma barak. Yeah, I generally believe he is a smart guy. It's what it's what my teacher was saying to us as well. That he's really just dumbing things down for people, but he actually understands a lot of these different concepts and stuff. Alhamdulillah.
He's ahead, bro. He's very ahead, mashallah. Tabarakallah.
Yeah. Faiyads, what was your initial reaction to the video?
My initial reaction to the video was, I've already had these feelings, bro, for a long time. But what's weird is when you have these views where you're kind of like a lone dissenter, they're going to paint you as like a conspiracy theorist, or they're going to paint you as you're backwards, you're brainwashed, you're programmed, you're conditioned. SubhanAllah, look at how they flip the script, bro. You're intolerant. Like, I can literally already see the headlines from this video. Misogynist, backwards, extremist Andrew Tate, now Muslim.
Yeah, that's crazy. But the thing is, the facts are there for those, the facts are there for those who want them. I think most people don't want the facts, because if the truth is that, your way of life is wrong, or you're being taught a lot of it is wrong, and so on and so forth, I think a lot of people would rather continue living that comfortable lie. Allah says in the Quran, and I'm not making the Matrix analogy. That's overused. I'm going to reference the Quran. That's the book we should reference. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that this life is nothing but temporary delusion. And they're like, these people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he also says, Inna ha'ula yuhibbuna al-ajila. These people, they love the immediate. What's the immediate? The temporary delusion. They love it. They'd rather live in this temporary delusion and get the cars and the women and the men and all this stuff and then die, at the ripe age of 36 because of their obese heart attack. Like, they don't care. But yani, at the end of the day, for those who want the truth, it's going to be there. We know very well that America, Canada, and Great Britain back in the day they have committed atrocious crimes overseas in other countries. They've committed atrocities. Who's the first person to use a nuclear bomb or an atomic bomb?
U.S.
The U.S.
Even look within our own homes. Look what they did to the First Nations, indigenous people, bro.
Yeah, 100%. They came in, they took every single piece of identity they had, like the Manitou stone, and I wrote a paper on that recently. And they tried to use it to get them to come to Christianity, to assimilate with their values and traditions. They took pictures of them in their traditional outfit, and the kid is like slouched over like this in his traditional cultural wear, and then they have him posing like as a Westerner, and he's standing there like this, chest puffed out, hands on his hips, like all happy. Astaghfirullah, like they just come and they basically destroy everything that isn't what's theirs. Any other culture, any other belief, any other way of life, they're gonna smack. They're gonna destroy it essentially, and then they're gonna go back and be like, "Oh, why are you attacking me in my way of life? And my be tolerant, be tolerant." Are you stupid? The facts are there for those who want them.
I think liberalism is the most intolerant, toxic, manipulative, extremist thing that's out there. But they're gonna make everything else look like what I just said.
Yeah.
And imagine how dangerous that is. One of the tricks of Shaitan is to convince the world that he doesn't exist, bro.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And I mean, if you think about it, let's look at Islamic societies. They act like Islam is not tolerant. We actually allow Jews and Christians to have their own courts and basically do things according to their book, according to their belief. We don't have that. We don't have Islamic Sharia courts. The government doesn't allow that. How are they tolerant of our belief in our religion if they only let us practice it within our own individualistic capacity? You know, when the Muslims took over Khorasan, they didn't even destroy the idols. People, they allowed them to practice idolatry, but then they eventually just came and practiced Islam because they basically saw the diamonds of Islam, you know, metaphorical diamonds of Islam, the gems. They're like, I need this. What is the statue going to do for me? They accepted Islam, and that's a very, reduced version of the full story, I'm sure, but that's essentially what happened. We don't have that.
I talked about this on the episode with Gabriel, bro. You remember that in the summer, in the studio, where you look at Canadian law, and it's legal to cheat on your girl, but it's like a girlfriend. It's literally illegal to cheat. It's legal to cheat on your wife, your girl, whatever, but it's illegal to have a second wife. And I know people are gonna come in and be like, "Oh, but you can get a nikah without." Listen, that's not the point, bro. You guys are missing the point. Of course, you can do whatever you want, bro. You can. I'm not saying you can do this, right? But how many people drive above the speed limit and don't get a speeding ticket? Most people, right? So I'm not saying to do it, but what I'm saying is, look at the law, though. The laws that are there for the interest of the people, supposedly, right? It's illegal to cheat on your wife, but it's illegal to have a second wife. So how does that make any sense, bro?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And like at the end of the day, if they really, cared about society and people, they would look at something so basic like what you just mentioned, the fact that people can cheat on the people that they're with and, break their heart. And they would say, listen, let's at least make it official so we know who's with who. Let's get like the wife to consent or something, this isn't exactly Islamic, but if they actually cared about something like this, they would work to fix this contradiction. They'd be like, let's make sure their first spouse, agrees with it. They consent. Let's make sure the person I'm marrying obviously consents and all this stuff. They don't care. They don't care. They're so steadfast on monogamy and pushing this idea of monogamy, probably because it's just against what other cultures are doing. And they're going to sit with it till they die.
Cheating is valid grounds for divorce, and divorce settlement lawyers make bank, and divorce settlement lawyers that make bank have to pay bank to the taxes to the country. So it's a system, bro. The whole system's corrupt. We're gonna leave it at that. We don't want to get too deep into it, but if you guys know, do your own research.
So I want to give one more example because it's something that it only really clicked for me recently because I found it within myself as well. Imagine the headline: plus-sized women are not attracted to overweight men. They call the women plus-sized and the men overweight. Why not plus-sized women, plus-sized men, or overweight women, overweight men? If I go to a man online and I say you're fat, nobody is going to care. And if I go to a woman online and say she's fat, every single person and their mom and their dad and their uncle and their dog will be at my leg, biting and yelling at me and barking at me. And I'm not saying you should go around calling people fat. All I'm saying is people do not care when a lot of different things happen to men. But they will go an extra 11 miles when something happens to a woman, which I think is good that they're protective of women. I think that's good, but it's gotten to an extreme now, and it's a double standard. And just go make two tweets. One, I hate fat men. Another, I hate fat women, and see what happens.
social
And you can do it
experiment.
on Twitter now, by the way. You can do that on Twitter because of Elon Musk.